Look at the sky. What do you see? Clouds? Birds? Or maybe your next Uber? Welcome to the great EVTOL race. Today, we're not just talking about cool gadgets. We're performing a financial autopsy on the two titans, Archer and Joby. It's 2025, and the honeymoon phase of flying car startups is officially over. We're in the fiscal trenches now. Let's find out who's actually going to fly, and who's just burning money for heat. Before we talk about flying, let's talk about why you're miserable. Last year, congestion cost the US economy $269 billion. To put that in perspective, that's enough money to buy every single person in New York City their own Tesla. We're literally throwing $250 billion into a tailpipe. This isn't just a traffic jam. It's a productivity crater. And that, my friends, is why people are willing to pay billions to take the elevator to the sky. But here's the cold, hard truth. Moving to the sky is expensive. In 2025, Archer and Joby collectively lost $1.5 billion. That's a hole in the pocket the size of a crater. In the startup world, we call this the Death Valley. They are racing to build factories before their bank accounts hit zero. It's like trying to build a plane while you're already falling, except the plane is electric and costs $1 billion to develop. So, the million-dollar question, or rather, the billion-dollar question, who survives this capital marathon? We have two completely different strategies here. It's do-it-yourself versus let's work together. Let's break down the DNA of these two contenders. First up, Joby. They are the control freaks of the industry. And I mean that as a compliment. They build their own computers, their own actuators, even their own flight software. They have Toyota in their corner, which is like having a black belt in manufacturing as your bodyguard. They aren't just building a plane, they're building the entire airline ecosystem. They even started making real money from passengers this year. Joby wants to own the whole pie, not just the crust. Then there's Archer. If Joby is the control freak, Archer is the ultimate networker. They aren't trying to reinvent the wheel or the wing. They've teamed up with Stellantis to use their car-making muscles and United Airlines to guarantee their customer base. It's an asset-light strategy. Archer's logic is simple. Why build the whole factory ourselves when we can just use yours? It's faster, it's leaner, and they already have $1 billion order waiting for them. Let's look at the actual household budget. Don't get blinded by those scary net loss numbers. A lot of that is just paper money, stock options, and accounting magic. When we look at the actual cash leaving the building, the adjusted EBITDA, we see the real story. Joby is spending more on R&D because they're doing everything themselves. Archer is slightly leaner. Both are bleeding, but they're bleeding for a reason. Building the future doesn't come cheap. How long can they keep the lights on? Think of this as the oxygen tank in a dive. Archer has enough air for about 3.8 years. Joby? They have about 2.5 years left. Joby had to go back to the bank for another $1.25 billion recently just to stay in the game. Archer is sitting on a bigger cushion for now, which gives them more room for error if the FAA decides to take a long lunch break. The game has changed. We're moving from can it fly to can we build 500 of them? Joby is taking over massive spaces in Ohio, while Archer is automating their quote-quote golden line in Georgia. It's an industrial arms race. If you can't build these at scale, you're just a very expensive hobbyist. These aren't just hangars, they are the battlegrounds of the 21st century. This is the boss fight, the FAA. You can have all the money in the world, but if the government doesn't sign that paper, your flying car is just a very heavy lawn ornament. Joby is currently in the lead here. They've finished more than half of their Stage 4 testing. Archer is trailing a bit, focusing on documentation. It's a boring race of paperwork, but it's the only race that matters. Why Dubai? Because they love the future, and they hate waiting. Joby has an exclusive 6-year deal to fly there. That is a massive regulatory sandbox. But Archer isn't backing down. They are setting up shop in Abu Dhabi. While we're stuck in traffic in LA or London, people in the Middle East will be zipping over the Burj Khalifa. The first commercial win will likely happen in the desert. Now for the party pooper slide. The biggest threat isn't technology, it's geography. These batteries need lithium, and 70% of that refined supply comes from one place. If trade wars heat up, or the One China policy leads to friction, the supply chain for these flying taxis could evaporate overnight. It's the Achilles heel of the entire industry. Look at the graveyard. Lilium, once the darling of Europe, got delisted because they ran out of cash. This industry is a brutal filter. It doesn't matter how pretty your plane is, If you can't access the capital markets, you're done. Right now, only Joby and Archer have the heavyweight status to stay in the ring. Everyone else, they're just hoping to be acquired. So, what's the final verdict? Are we buying the hype or selling the dream? As we move into the 2027 commercial window, the hype cycle is ending and the value cycle is beginning. We're looking at who can actually turn a flight into a profit. Here's the breakdown. Joby is the winner if you care about operational maturity and being the first to fly. They have the lead. But Archer is the winner if you care about financial survival and scaling without breaking the bank. The red flags are still there. Vertiports need power and investors are being diluted. But the FAA is finally on board. It's no longer a question of if, but when. We've got the models, the data, and the deep dive sensitivity analysis if you want to see the math behind the magic. Reach out to us at HDIN Research. If you enjoyed this fiscal autopsy, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment on which company you'd trust to fly you to work, and we'll see you in the next dimension. Visit us at HDINresearch.com. Stay sharp.